Welcome back, everyone.
If you haven't got a clue, Tony's got the answer for you.
How are you today, Tony?
I'm tired today, but ready to go.
Well, hopefully these questions wake you up today.
Okay.
First one of the day. Can you chip and crack your countertop by slamming something down on it?
It depends on how hard you slam it down and what you're slamming down. But that's really all countertops. I mean, natural stone quartz are going to be harder than wood or, Formica. I mean, you could chip a Formica countertop very easily. You could burn a Formica countertop. You could damage a Formica countertop extremely easy. Wood countertops, butcher block, same thing. Burn. You could dent them. You can scorch them. Very easy. Yes, if you hit stone or quartz hard enough, you're going to be able to damage it. But it's going to take a lot more than your normal countertop. I mean, if you hit it with a hammer, I don't care what it is, you're going to damage it.
Yeah.
If you put a plate down hard or a glass down hard, you're not going to damage your countertop.
Right.
The biggest thing that we hear is in the sink area. When people are cleaning big pots and pans, they'll usually chip around that sink area. So just be careful. When you have a big pot or pan, don't be slamming it against the edge of the sink because, you will chip it over. Just be careful. You have to know what you're working with.
Right.
The reason why you don't do that with Mica's countertop is because it's a drop-in sink. So the edges aren't exposed.
Right.
When you have an undermount sink, those edges are exposed, so you can chip them if you hit them hard enough. But that's really the only place. Just be careful around the sink with frying pans or pots and stuff like that. Or glasses and dishes, you're not gonna hurt them.
Second question of the day. How do you attach a farmhouse sink to countertops? Because normally I believe it's installed before you even put the countertop
You are
on.
correct. Plumbing, we don't do. We mount sinks, undermount sinks, but we do not make any plumbing connections. In the case of a farmhouse sink, there's three types of farmhouse sink. There's a drop-in that sits on top of the counters, which are easiest to install because they basically sit on top of the counter.
Yeah.
So the countertop holds it in place. The other two are the flush mount where the countertop and the sink are even, so they have to be installed before we even go to template because they get installed inside the cabinetry, and but we don't do that. You have to put some sort of wood support inside the cabinet, and that holds a sink. And the same would be for a regular farmhouse sink where it's even with the cabinetry where the countertop sits on top of the sink.
Okay.
So what you do is you figure out, you want to get the sink even with the top of the countertop. So when we put our stone top or quartz top on top, it sits on top of it.
Oh.
So it sits on top, but it's being supported by the inside of the cabinet, the wood supports on the inside of the cabinet. We're just silicone all around it and putting the top on top, which is why when we go to template, we template after it's installed so we can template around the farmhouse sink so we know exactly where to make our cut and finish that edge.
Right.
The farmhouse sinks, unless they're drop-in, need to be installed by a plumber or homeowner or contractor before we template, and then we template around it so it fits perfectly on top of the farmhouse sink.
Okay. So it's really only secured by the silicone around it.
Well, for us, yeah, we only put the silicone around, but it's supported because some of them, especially like cast iron, it can be 300 pounds with with water and everything in it.
Yeah.
So that needs to be supported inside the cabinetry. The only ones that the countertop is supporting a sink is if it's a undermount, where we drill the holes and then we drill, we have the clips and then the silicone all the way around. That holds the sink. But other than that, it's either dropping where the countertop holds it in place because you're just dropping it. You have the lip all the way around. Or if you build a farm sink, or you have a farm sink, and you build the supports inside the cabinet that hold the sink.
Okay. A bonus to that question.
Okay.
Do you ever need steel rodding for that at all?
Steel rod. Well, we put steel rods in the countertops, and that's for support so pieces don't break because you only have 4 to 4.5 inches in front and back of the sink. So in the back of a farmhouse sink, you have no front, so it's just the back. So whenever there's, we call them, ears or something like that, because usually we try to make the seam in the middle of the sink. They'll put some fiberglass or metal rods in there just in case we hit it, it doesn't break. Just anytime we do any rodding, it's just to make sure we give it a little bit extra support.
Right.
And any openings that we do, we always put some rodding in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it just gives it a little bit extra support because, stone is doesn't bend, it breaks. So
Right.
whatever time you can get, one time we had a stone that was really, had a lot of miking, we sunk 1/2 inch rebar in it
Oh, wow.
because it was huge overhang. So we wanted to make sure that when somebody was leaning on it or something like that, the stone was not going to break. Because remember, the stone's only 3 centimeters, which is about 1.25 inches.
Yeah.
So you got to give it a little extra strength. So that's what we did.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to see because I know with a lot of like corner sinks and stuff, there's always rotting in those.
Yeah. Whenever you have that, that 4 inches, especially if you're trying to get something in one piece and you have, maybe 3 feet on one side, the sink, and then maybe another 3 or 4 feet on the other side, you only have 4 inches in the front, 4 inches in the back. That thing, in theory, is like a dumbbell. We have all the way on one side and all the way on the other side, and nothing in the middle, it would snap. So you have to make sure it's supported. You put the metal rods or fiberglass rods in all the way on both sides. This way it supports it, and then we usually have a straight edge that gets clamped to it. Gives it a little additional support while we install it.
Okay.
Once it's in, you're good.
Yeah.
But it's for us for transporting and carrying.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's it. Done.
That's it? Okay.
Yep. Thank you guys for tuning into this week's episode. Thank you, Tony, again for answering our questions
My
as
pleasure.
always.
My pleasure.
Have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. See you later. The cabs are here. I got stuck in